Good morning everyone, it's Zakiziel here, and today I'll be reacting to 5-ish Minute Lore Episode 24, Bromance Part 1, Barabas Dantioch by Old Man Reacts. As always, I highly recommend that you check out his channel and subscribe to him. He makes wonderful content. It is both informative and entertaining, and he puts a lot of work into these. And there's a link to the original video in the description box below. And without further ado, let us begin.
Lord
actually
presents the
don't remember. Actually, don't remember who Barabas Dantioch is.
5-ish Minute Lore proudly presents a Disaster Piece production, The Bromance of Dantioch and Pollux.
Disaster Piece.
Barabas Dantioch.
Two legions alike in victories, in fair Imperium, were both specialized in siege. From brotherly grudge, break to new mutiny, where civil blood turns civil hands heresy.
So is this going to be a case where there's an Iron Warrior and an Imperial Fist who are friends, despite the rivalries between their respective legions?
From forth the fatal loins of these two foes, a pair of star-crossed bros.
General Medicaid warning. The views expressed in 5-ish Minute Lore, the lore delivered in rants, are sanctioned.
And that series of events continued for the next 10,000 years.
By their scholar Progenium, as excess rageous. Prolonged exposure can result in loss of IQ, high blood pressure, random outbursts, and blunt force trauma to the skull, resulting in unconsciousness. Please consult your local physician for more information.
Warsmith Barabas Dantioch, an uncomplicated yet admirable man, who lived by his principles all the way to the very end, even sacrificing himself for them.
Oh, Baker may be in trouble here. Deathmark tries to clean it up for Ryu. Oh, look at the cleanse, look at the moves! Baker, what was that?
If you took the Iron Warriors and turned the Legion into a cooking show, it'd be Hell's Kitchen, with Perturabo growing a blonde mop and cutting loose on all the Iron Warriors who are trying to serve substandard food.
Why aren't you going to cut them then?
Because if I cut them, all the juice will come out, Chef.
Why?
Because the juice will...
Why?
In Hell's Kitchen 30K, there was only a few that Gordon Ramsay of the 30th Millennium didn't want to throw a sledgehammer at, and Dantioch was one of them. Barabas Dantioch is one of the few Iron Warriors that Perturabo actually liked, mainly because Perturabo didn't see him as being completely useless. Frankly, this level of praise...
By the way, that's kinda ironic how it's like, Perturabo has daddy issues because Big E didn't recognize his work. Meanwhile, the Iron Warriors getting daddy issues because Daddy Perturabo wouldn't recognize their accomplishments. Then again, if I remember correctly, Perturabo also had this whole mindset regarding the Iron Warriors that the entire Legion had to perform to perfection. And by, well, not perfection, but more like he had very exacting standards that they had to accomplish. And if even one of them failed to meet his standards, then the entire Legion was treated as if they had all failed.
Based on Perturabo would mean that Dantioch was one of the top 5 Space Marine tacticians of all damn time, because Perturabo was the prom king of the haters ball and generally found a reason to view everyone around him as somewhere between a dead fish and a dead battery.
What are you?
An idiot sandwich.
Dantioch was placed in command of the 51st Expeditionary Fleet and was given an entire grand company of Iron Warriors. Then, like most Iron Warriors, he was tasked with fighting something absolutely horrific to even contemplate. In his case, it was the Harud.
Damn, nature, you scary.
If you don't know what the Harud do, they suck all the life out of you and leave you aged and withered, kind of like a bad girlfriend with a spending habit. The only difference between the two is you might get over the girlfriend, but the Harud is permanent. They do this with something called the entropy field, which would cause steel to rust to nothing in seconds and age a Space Marine so rapidly they would literally die mid-charge due to old age. Yeah, it was that insane.
Especially considering how long Space Marines can live for.
Half of the bolt rounds the Iron Warriors shot wouldn't detonate because when they hit the entry field, the firing mechanism might not make it through. Dantioch went through a bad breakup with his Sarud girlfriend and wound up with ruined credit, as well as being physically older than the Emperor himself and crippled for life, with over half the Grand Company dead.
How it feels to chew 5 gum. New 5 gum. Stimulate your senses.
Being just a bit annoyed at the way the war was being prosecuted under Perturabo's direct orders, he made the mistake of thinking Perturabo actually gave half a shit what his opinion was. Perturabo immediately demanded to know
Where's the lamb sauce?
then demoted Dantioch to garrison duty. Insult to injury, Perturabo made Dantioch's name into a meme for the 4th, turning his name into a synonym for epic fail.
In bird culture, this is considered a dick move.
This didn't break Dantioch's spirit, however. It also didn't change the fact he was one of the most savage space marines to threaten life in a universal sense in the 30th millennium. He made himself a mask of iron, shaped into the symbol of the Iron Warriors, and put it on his face while it was still red hot from the fucking forge. He figured it'd be easier to beat the metal into place when it was already on his skull. Then he dunked his head in ice water to seal it in place.
Oh, that is hard.
So this guy is like Doctor Doom then, with that.
God!
At that point, he decided if he was going to garrison this place, he might as well do it right, and constructed the fortress of Scarenhold.
Oh boy. I'm imagining just the kind of fortifications that would make Cadians blush.
Like with all real estate, it's location, location, location. And just so you know, he built this fortress in an underground cave hanging upside down over a lake of Promethium. If you don't know what Promethium is, let me inform you. Promethium is essentially high-octane, slow-burning gasoline that sticks to whatever it hits. He had built a fortress hanging upside down in a cave with a lake underneath that was filled with the same liquid they use in flamethrowers.
Basically, super napalm.
Batman ain't got shit on Barbaros. When Perturabo turned against the Emperor, the Lord of Iron wanted to use Dantioch's garrison for a supply base, and Dantioch told Perturabo to get his own. Overhearing this, an Ultramarine who had infiltrated Dantioch's garrison... Hold on a second, hold on.
Wait a minute.
Let me 1 second. O Panzer of the Lake, I come seeking your wisdom. How in the bluest of fucks did an Ultramarine infiltrate an Iron Warrior's garrison?
It was Matt Ward.
Ah yes, him.
Yeah, an Ultramarine who had infiltrated an Iron Warrior's garrison, thanks Matt Ward, asked him to come to Ultramar so he could help the Ultramarines prepare defenses.
Remember, there's no plot armor like Wardian power armor.
Dantioch decided before he'd go, he'd commit some homicide first, and held out against the entire might of the 51st Expeditionary Fleet and the 14th Company of the Iron Warriors, which he used to command. Dantioch showed them exactly how good the lamb sauce was, damn it, and promptly put on a masterclass for defending when you don't care about morality. I know I've said multiple times Smitty checked the box for homicide, but Dantioch was an Iron Warrior. He was going to make sure everyone attacking realized this. He started crossing out entire segments of this test of his command ability and writing in war crime on repeat.
That is very on brand for the Iron Warriors, considering how they like to wage war, and how if a world surrendered, the Iron Warriors would basically raise it anyway, because they wanted the fight.
At one point, he broke the dam that held the Lake of Promethium in just to drown traitors. And because good times rhymes with war crime, he set it on fire just to get any traitors that took a swim class at the Y.
Oh my god. The duck's burned! You're cooking in a burnt pan, you fucking dick!
Eventually, the traitors just started deploying Titans, including an Imperator, just to break the fortress's defenses. The fortress was eventually going to fall. It was simply a matter of time. Dantioch and the survivors of his garrison jumped in all chat and typed in GG, easy, and then promptly revealed their Beef Wellington.
Are you sure this will work? I have no idea!
Dantioch flipped us.
I am wondering if they have either A, a bomb in there, or B, some kind of mechanism that's going to vent that Promethium lake somewhere.
Switch and detonated the support struts holding the fortress up, promptly dropping the entire fucking thing on top of the traitors, wiping all of them out, including all of the Titans. That same button then teleported Dantioch and his forces on board the flagship of the 51st Fleet, which he then took over and ran off with. Legend has it that when the ship arrived in Ultramar, it was overweight due to the sheer size and scale of Dantioch's balls. Gilliman knew Dantioch had mad skills, but he didn't want Dantioch to use his skills to fortify Ultramar. Oh no. Gilliman had him and his loyalist Iron Warriors go to the planet of Sotha, where a massive device known as the Pharos was held. The Pharos was a piece of unrealistically old Xenos technology, but no one really knew what it did or what it was for.
I am, by the way, very much liking this guy and his way of thinking.
Well, almost no one. You see, the Pharos had been built by the Necrons, and the Necrons build things to last. The entire facility was built out of Blackstone. Quick lecture on Blackstone. Necrons build a lot of things with it, but it's more technology than building material. Typically, it's used to do one of two things. Blackstone can either negate warp energy altogether, like with the pylons on Cadia, or enhance it. The Pharos did the latter, but in a very specific way, using empathy of all fucking emotions. Like, seriously, they're the Necrons! When does empathy come into play?
Well, I can only think of one way that empathy would come into play if you want to magnify it. And that is, if you want to, assuming that you're fighting people who are rational and capable of feeling empathy, or having any sort of humanity whatsoever, which is to a degree a lot of Space Marines don't have that, because given the way that their sense of duty kind of pushes everything else out. Could use it to make someone extremely hesitant about actually trying to shoot at you.
Anyhow, the Necrons used the Pharos and 7 other sites just like it to navigate and communicate galaxy-wide. The facility was the size of a mountain and was literally powered by a fragment of a star god called a Catan, which at some point I'll get into, because, well, they were colossal dicks. Necron...
Yep. Eating everyone's souls, causing stars to emit radiation that cursed an entire species, waging a giant galactic war to harvest souls and genocide multiple races, just those kind of things.
History is deep, and at some point I'll get into it, but needless to say, if the Eldar weren't total pricks, the universe wouldn't be half as screwed up as it is right now. For all their arrogance, there isn't a single species that has done more damage to the universe than them.
If you were in my toilet bowl, I wouldn't bother flushing it. My bath mat means more to me than you.
Back to the Pharos. Despite being handed a task with no instruction manual, even half a clue how to begin, Dantioch went to it with gusto. When a few shit-stained word-bearers summoned the Ruin Storm, Dantioch was the guy who figured out how to use the Pharos to light up Ultramar like a second Astronomicon. It gave any ship trying to use the warp a fixed point to navigate to. Why did Gilliman allow this? Why did he encourage it? Why did he sanction it? Well, basically Gilliman was so screwed up in the head after Calth, he was just crossing out entire segments of Big E's Don't Do This list.
The Codex Astartes does not support...
Shut your fucking mouth! No problem, John. Shut the fuck up, you cunt!
You see...
Well, to be fair, Gilliman did think that, the Imperium had fallen, and at one point during the Heresy, and was doing his whole Imperium Secundus thing. So it's like, well, under the assumption that Terra had already fallen and Big E's dead, it's like, well, who cares if you violate his don't do this list? Who's gonna punish you?
Dantioch was doing his dead-level best to figure out how to do literally everything he could with the Pharos, and part of that included figuring out how to use Space Instant Messenger. Dantioch, despite using technology over 60 million years old without even a button that told him how to turn it on and off, was within a month using the Pharaohs for instant communication with Macragge, and the big blue Boy Scout was having dreams of empire even as Dantioch continued to refine his processes.
That is an accomplishment. Like, I know that Space Marines are incredibly intelligent. And, because I mean, like, look at how big the Codex Astartes is. It is so comprehensive. Like, even though it's just more of a suggestion than a rigid course of action that you should follow to the letter, or the fact that it is so comprehensive that just a single component of the Codex could be studied by a human over their lifetime, and Space Marines just memorize this entire thing. Like, they're very intelligent when they're not running screaming at things like a bunch of crazy people, but that aside. I wonder if Dantioch and the other Iron Warriors may have inherited some of Perturabo's understanding, so to speak. Because if I remember correctly, Perturabo had this uncanny ability to just kind of understand how anything he looked at worked.
Eventually, Dantioch had gotten so good at manipulating the technology that he was broadcasting himself. Dantioch began appearing as a fully fledged hologram to those on Macragge, even as they appeared the same way to him on Sotha. Macragge became the center of the pocket empire that Gilliman was forming, and individual ships as well as full fleets were heading toward the home system of the Ultramarines. With Dantioch lighting the way for them, one ship came out of the warp and began making its way to Macragge at sublight velocity. On that ship was an Imperial Fist, and his name was Alexis Pollux.
I am so looking forward to seeing where this goes. There's a bit more to the video. Probably just credits, but I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, yeah, just credits. Yeah, that was a fun watch, which I'm really looking forward to the next episode. I hope you guys enjoyed watching with me, and if you did, I'd appreciate it if you like, comment, and subscribe. And have a nice day, everyone!